Booby Traps is a 1944 private Snafu cartoon, and I didn't mind it. I thought it was quite interesting, but of the three or four Snafus that I've seen, I'd say it's the weakest so far. Certainly, it's the least engaging. It's directed by Robert Clampett, written by Phil Eastman and Dr. Seuss, and we have Mel Blanc voicing Private Snafu. And we also have Robert C. Bruce narrating it. And in this particular cartoon, it's about 3 or 4 minutes in length, and Private Snafu is learning about booby traps. And it really uses the term booby quite a lot, both with regards to booby traps, you'll be a boob if you fall for the trap, and also we have some literal breasts. Well, I say literal breasts on a model, a mannequin at one point. But it really plays on the whole booby aspect quite a lot, which I think it did quite well. And Snafu learns about booby traps and that he needs to be on his guard to look out for these, and we see him almost falling for various booby traps and wondering if and when he will ever fall for one and what will happen. And I won't say any more than that. It is obviously very short. I don't want to give too much away. It was definitely interesting, but I feel like it just wasn't as interesting or as fascinating as a lot of the other, well, 3 or 4 private Snafu shorts that I've seen. The character wasn't as engaging as usual. The things that were happening on screen weren't as interesting or funny or kind of almost tongue in cheek funny. It just didn't seem to have the same appeal that a lot of the other ones do. And I think maybe because it wasn't as fascinating. Booby traps are not as fascinating as, leaking private information and generally failing the war, whereas booby trap is going to affect you a lot more than it will affect the army as a whole. So I didn't think it was quite as good, but I think it dealt with the subject matter well. There were a lot of visual gags in here. There was that sense of, is he going to fall for a booby trap? Will one trip him up? And they were certainly creative. It's definitely a creative cartoon. Not a personal favourite, but if I don't compare it to the others, it was still pretty good. Definitely worth watching Booby Traps. If you're a fan of Snafu, I wouldn't recommend it as the first Snafu that you watch, but if you've seen some others, I'd say Booby Traps is probably worth a watch.